In the somber symphony of life, where the melody of Charlie Munger's laughter once resonated, we now find ourselves navigating the echoes of his funniest moments. A legacy that intertwines wisdom with whimsy, and investing prowess with an irreverent sense of humor.
I don't think there are good arguments against my position. I think the people that oppose my position are idiots. And so I don't think there is a rational argument against my position. This is an incredible thing. Naturally, people like to run gambling casinos where other people lose.
In the hallowed halls of wisdom, Charlie Munger, the oracle's right hand, reveals his comedic genius.
They show let the big investors their deal. It's not an easy game to play from a beginner's point of view, real estate. Whereas stocks, you're equal with everybody.
Amidst the gravitas of investment discussions, Munger sprinkles his wit, leaving audiences in stitches.
All my rich friends who own real estate are selling their worst properties, and they're getting bids that come in higher than their highest expectations, and people are competing to take these things off their hands.
The financial world, a stage for seriousness, witnesses Munger's comedic ballet, a delightful surprise.
And the people who invented this crypto crapo, which is my name for it, and sometimes I call it crypto crapo, and sometimes I call it crypto. And it's just ridiculous that anybody would buy this stuff.
Picture a boardroom transformed into a comedy club, Munger at the mic, turning financial jargon into comedic gold.
The trouble is, if it's easy, all these people, a whole bunch of ethnics that love real estate. You know, Asians, Hasidic Jews, Indians from India, they all love real estate. They're smart people, and they know everybody, and they know the tricks, and getting this, you don't even see the good offerings in real estate.
A dry comment here, a witty remark there. Munger's humor punctuates the seriousness of shareholder meetings.
I do not find it exciting, and it certainly doesn't fit Berkshire. Name me a lot of C corporations that have been passive holders in real estate and have done well over a whole lot of years. It's almost a null class.
In the world of Berkshire Hathaway, Munger's laughter is the secret sauce that keeps the shareholders coming back.
Whoever, but I did not really think that we'd ever have one. It would, in the, so many hundreds of billions in Berkshire. I did not anticipate when Warren and I were starting with our little piddly start that we'd ever get to 100 billion, much less several hundred billion. It was an amazing occurrence.
What happened that you didn't anticipate? What led to that success?
Well, we got a little less crazy than most people, and a little less stupid than most people, and that really helped us. Then in addition, we were given as much longer time to run than most people because something kept us alive into our 90s. And it gave us a long track from our little piddling start all the way to the 90s. Those are the two things that really happened. And of course, we wised up over time. We got into better and better companies, and we understood more and more of the bad things that could happen, and how easy they could creep in. And we avoided them even more assiduously when we were old than we did when we were young. And it all worked.
Watch Munger on stage, a maestro of dry humor, weaving tales of finance with a comedic finesse.
You can think of hardly nothing on earth that has done more good to the human race than currency, national currencies. They were absolutely required to turn man from a goddamn successful ape into modern successful humans in human civilization. Because it enabled all these convenient exchanges. So if somebody says, I'm going to create something that sort of replaces the national currency, it's like saying I'm going to replace the national air, It's asinine. It isn't even slightly stupid, it's massively stupid. And of course it's very dangerous, and of course the governments were totally wrong to permit it. And of course I'm not proud of my country for allowing this crap, what I call the crypto, it's worthless, it's no good, it's crazy, it'll do nothing but harm, it's antisocial to allow it. And the guy who made the correct decision on this is the Chinese leader. The Chinese leader took one look at crypto and he says, not in my China. And boom, oh well, there isn't any crypto in China. He's right and we're wrong.
The funniest moments often unfold in the most unexpected places, and in the financial world, Munger is the unexpected jester.
Yeah, I would say number one, that in a corporation like Berkshire that's taxable under subchapter C of the Internal Revenue Code, owning real estate is grossly disadvantaged compared to owning it directly by individuals such as yourself. That's number one. And number two, investment real estate is having bubble valuation problems of its own right now.
Amidst discussions of economic indicators, Munger's punchlines become the unexpected highlight of the conversation.
The people who you're dealing with and competing with, they've specialized in a little 12 blocks or a little industry. They know more about the industry than you do. So, and then you've got a lot of liars and brokers and so on. So it's not a bit easy. It's not a bit easy.
It's not just about investments, it's about investing in a good laugh. Munger's comedic timing is a valuable asset.
Well, of course, there's an opportunity for a purchase a lot bigger that people can make who don't have us 160. We have $160 billion in cash, plus a great credit rating we deserve. And who in the hell has that? Not very many. Yes, but what it's going to be, I can't tell you. It can't be anything too small, because it doesn't matter how good it is. We're of a size now where too small just doesn't move the needle very much. So we need something big to come along and use up all our cash and some borrowing. But who's more likely to find something than a guy who has $160 billion in cash, plus a long history of buying bargains? I don't think it's hopeless. It may have to be done by some different people. The next time, we may not be able just to squeeze a little more lemon juice out of the old lemons. We may be able to, we may have to squeeze some new lemons, meaning new people may have to make the decisions. But who can make them better than somebody that has watched the early process all through all those years and seen how well it works, and who starts with a little legacy of $160 billion of cash.
The laughter echoes in annual meetings, an unexpected symphony that transforms serious discussions into moments of joy.
It's just unspeakable. It's an absolute horror, and I'm ashamed of my country that so many people believe in this kind of crap and that the government allows it to exist. It is totally, absolutely crazy, stupid gambling with enormous house odds for the people on the other side. And they cheat in addition to cheating in the betting. And it's just crazy. So that is something, there's only one correct answer for intelligent people there, is just totally avoid it. And avoid all the people that are promoting it.
The seriousness of the market contrasts with Munger's wit, a comedy show staged on the floor of financial wisdom.
If you're smart. In real estate, you don't even see the opportunities when you're a young person starting out. They go to others. The stock market's always open. It's in venture capital. Sequoia sees the good stuff. You could open an office, Joe Schmo, venture capitalists, startups come to me, get starved to death. You know, you got to figure out what your competitive position is and what you're choosing. real estate has a lot of difficulties. And those Patels from India that buy all the motels, they know more about motels than you do. They live in the goddamn hotel with their family. They pay no income taxes. They don't pay much in workman's compensation. And every dime they get, they fix up the thing and buy another motel.
Picture Munger, the financial guru, sharing a quip. And suddenly, the boardroom transforms into a comedy club.
Yeah, we don't have any competitive advantage over experienced real estate investors in the field. And we wouldn't have if we were operating with our own money as a partnership. And if you operate as a corporation such as ours, which is taxable under Chapter C of the Internal Revenue Code, you've got a whole layer of corporate taxes between the real estate income and the use of the income by the people who own the real estate. So by its nature, real estate tends to be a very lousy investment for people who are taxed under subchapter C of the code relating to corporations. So the combination of having it generally a lousy activity for people with our tax structure and having no special competence in the field means that we spend almost no time thinking about anything in real estate, and then such real estate as we've actually done, like holding surplus real estate and trying to sell it off, I'd say we have a poor record at.
Munger's humor, a beacon in the serious sea of finance, providing shareholders with a buoyant dose of laughter.
Well, Berkshire's never been very active in commercial real estate. It works better for taxable investors than it does for corporations taxed the way Berkshire is. So I don't anticipate huge effects on Berkshire, but I do think that the hollowing out of the downtowns in the United States and elsewhere in the world is going to be quite significant and quite unpleasant. I think the country will get through it all right, but as they say, it will often involve a different set of owners.
Investors and analysts, poised for numbers, find themselves charmed by Munger's unexpected and hilarious anecdotes.
I do think that the job market is likely to be fairly lousy for a long time, and I do think that the worst of our troubles in certain markets are not over.
Which markets do you think?
Well, I think the universities that thought they were making successful investments in timber because they were all buying the same groves are still in from some disappointment.
The weight of financial matters feels too heavy. Munger's humor becomes the much-needed comic relief.
And I think that the worst in a lot of real estate ventures is still ahead of us. And so I think there's plenty of pain out there still to come. That doesn't mean we won't pass through. It just means that there's plenty of unpleasantness still ahead.
The annual meeting, typically a solemn affair, turns into a comedy fest, starring none other than the witty Charlie Munger.
Well, there's no question about the fact that as the interest rates have gone up, it's hostile to stock prices. But they should go up. We couldn't have kept them forever at zero. And I just think this is one more thing to adapt to in investment life, is that there are headwinds and there are tailwinds, and one of the headwinds is inflation. And I think more inflation over the next 100 years is inevitable, given the nature of democratic politics in a democracy. So I think we'll have more inflation. That's one of the reasons the Daily Journal owns securities instead of government bonds, owns common stocks instead of government bonds.
Amidst spreadsheets and investment reports, Munger's one-liners emerge as the unsung heroes of financial gatherings.
Well, the Chinese government is worrying all the capitalists in the world way more than it used to. And of course we don't like that. And we wish that China and the United States got along better. And if you stop to think about it, Think of how massively stupid both China and the United States have been to allow the existing tensions to arise. What bad is ever going to happen to China or the United States if we two are close? If we make good friends out of the Chinese and vice versa, who in the hell is ever going to bother us? Of course we should make friends with China. And of course we should learn to get along with people who have a different system of government. We like our government because we're used to it and it has advantages of personal freedom. China could never have handled its life with a government like ours. They wouldn't be in the position they're in. They had to prevent 500 million or 600 million people from being born in China. They just measured the women's menstrual periods when they came to work and those who weren't allowed to have children. You can't do that in the United States, and it really needed doing in China. And so they did what they had to do using their methods, and I don't think we should be criticizing China, which has terrible problems because they're not just like the United States. They do some things better than we do. They should like us and we should like them. So I think nothing is crazier than people who foment resentments on either side of that one.
Munger's funny bone is the secret ingredient in Berkshire Hathaway's recipe for shareholder satisfaction.
Well, of course it's a very serious issue because it's an enormous amount of power. And for a while, all these index funds got the feeling they were suddenly made godlike to clean up the world. But Vanguard has retreated from that policy, and I think wisely so. And I have some hope that Larry Fink will follow. I don't think it's smart for these index funds to try and influence the policy and politics of the country just because they're an index fund. I think they should be satisfied to eliminate some of the folly from investment management and do a better job for their clients, which I think they do very well. And I think they should be pleased with that and not try and run the whole country as a matter of corporate governance. I have no feeling that anybody at Vanguard or Larry Fink's operation has any special genius at how American corporations ought to be run. And to the extent they ask Berkshire to do this or that, I wish they'd stop. We invested some money in China because we could get more value in terms of the strength of the enterprise and the price of the security than we could get in the United States. Other people, including Sequoia, the leading venture capital firm in the United States, have made the same decision we have. But I'm sympathetic to Gunliker. If he's nervous, he doesn't have to join us. Different folks have different opinions. I feel about Russia the way he feels about China. I don't invest in Russia, so I can't criticize Gunliker's point of view. It's just I reach a different conclusion.
In the world of finance, where seriousness often reigns supreme, Munger stands tall as the comedic disruptor, injecting laughter into the narrative.
I don't think it's a bit crazy to give this extra $2,000 a year to all those people who make $70,000 a year and have a lot of children. That strikes me as it's good politics and probably good policy. I also do not think it is crazy to reduce the corporate income tax on the C corporation. And if you look at the world, a lot of the places that have worked best, including Singapore and so forth, have that policy and may even have good macroeconomic consequences. And a lot of the people who are screaming about it and are so sure it won't work, they may not be right. It may actually work pretty well. It causes the capital values of the companies to come up, and there's a wealth effect from the increased market value of all the companies. Everybody recognizes there's an effect, but some people say it's small and some people say it's going to be large. I'll tell you what they all have in common, none of them know. It is not totally inconceivable that it will work pretty well. And with so much of the world doing well with similar tax policy, and of course, the Democrats go berserk on this subject. But I think they're wrong. It may actually help them. Yeah, so I'm not sure it'll work. It may not, but it's not totally crazy.
Yeah, and of course the place to look when you're young is in the inefficient markets. You shouldn't be trying to guess whether, one company has a better pipeline than another. You want to go, when you're young, someplace that's very inefficient.
Well, of course it's a terrible problem, and of course there was some deep moral and behavioral failure. Those plans were by various manipulative tricks where people got very unfairly high pensions. And of course that's what human nature does. You make it easy to steal, people will steal. And that's what it amounts to when somebody gets $600,000 a year from some poor community full of Latinos with low employment. A man in those circumstances is stealing. We don't call it stealing because he hires lawyers, but he's stealing. And of course that's a big problem, and it happens all over. And of course the unfunded liabilities. They talk about our national debt as a percentage of GDP. The unfunded liabilities of the United States for medical care and pensions in terms of present value are far greater than the national debt that we report. So if we get into a Japan-type situation with no growth, we're in for a lot of social tensions.